What's up, everybody, and welcome to a Friday playoff edition of Morning Cup of Hockey presented by Bet365. Check out Bet365's 3-goal early payout. When your team goes up 3, you get paid. It's that simple. Download the app today. You must be 19 plus, so please play responsibly. We are also presented by Parasso, the most complete choice for shaving and beard care, made in Italy since 1948. Parasso has been a staple of Italian culture and barbershops globally for 4 generations, so get 15% off at Parasso-USA.com with our promo code Hockey15 in all caps. Hockey15. That's Colby Cohen. I'm Jonny Lazarus, and we got another 3-guest show today. We got Mike Reilly from the Carolina Hurricanes joining in about 15 minutes, so we'll catch up with him on what the Hurricanes have been up to with all these days off this week. We will catch up with Matthew Barnaby after the Sabres lost last night. Now they have to go to the Bell Center and find a way to win a game to keep their season alive, and then to finish it off, we'll talk to James Van Riemsdyk, and then that'll be it for the week. It's funny, though, Colby. Yesterday, you and Steve Levy were talking about how the playoffs have been a dud, and I said we haven't had a single bad night of games, and last night both games were kind of duds. You can argue that the Canadian Sabres game was somewhat entertaining, but Vegas brought it right to the Anaheim Ducks right from the jump. Mitch Marner was unbelievable. What a first period for Vegas to really just kind of step on the throat of the Ducks and move their way into the Western Conference Final. So 2 games to talk about. We'll probably start with the Anaheim and Vegas game, and we'll save the Sabres and Canadians for Matthew Barnaby when he joins. But Marner magic last night. I feel like we're all going to talk about the same thing. We're watching Mitch Marner have all the success, and we're probably thinking to ourselves, how is Auston Matthews watching this and not thinking, I need to get out of Toronto? Not to make this about the Leafs, but I think we're all kind of in agreement.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. You just got to look at the way that Mitch is playing and you know the energy that he has at this time of year. I mean, that might be the goal of the year. And
that was sick.
He makes this look easy, right? Like this
with Macomb on his back too.
Some hard, stressful play for him. He just gets on his edges. He uses his heels to kind of keep Lacombe on his back pocket. I think the other thing, though, more than just Marner, I don't think we can understate the importance of having William Karlsson back in the lineup for Vegas. Mm-hmm. I mean, getting him back and having him kind of get up to speed right away. It hasn't been like bumpy for him. And I listened to John Tortorella talk to Gary Lawless and Dan DeYuva before the game, and he was just like talking about how he needs more minutes from more guys and what a luxury it is to get a guy like William Karlsson back. I mean, I think that this Vegas team just like looks better and better. Now, I'm not going to sit here and make the same mistake that we made last round, where we said, oh, Minnesota just won this hard series and like they're going to beat Colorado.
Yeah. No,
I'm certainly not going to do that. But look, Carter Hart, really good the last 2 games of the series. Really good. Some of his best hockey that he's played. And you get William Karlsson back. I mean, I think Jack Eichel was just such a dominant presence on the ice last night. I mean, he's such an alpha male. Like, the way that he plays the game and the leadership that he has, listen, you just watch him and the plays that he makes, Johnny, and the positions that he puts his teammates in just by like always being there to support a puck, always being there to defend a play, always reloading above the puck. I took a lot of heat for saying I thought Jack was the most complete 3-zone player. And when he is on his game.
When did you take heat for that?
I think a lot of people pushed back on that. And they're like, oh, he's not better than McDavid and MacKinnon and blah, 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 which obviously not what I said. We're not talking about just scoring goals, but we're just talking about, these guys that have been the rocks. I mean, he's got a little Jonathan Taves in him. He's got a little Anze Kopitar in him. Like, you think about the cup runs that those teams went on, and you think about some of the center play that they had. I mean, it's a little bit of a lot of those things when you watch Jack Eichel.
Just to clear one thing up in the chat, Colby, I see a lot of our listeners talking about Torts and not doing the media last night. I know you know the situation. I guess the John Wayne Airport out in Orange County has like a curfew. They can't fly past 10 p.m. So this was a team trying to catch the flight situation, not a Torts wanting to dodge the media. I mean, maybe it's, it goes hand in hand.
Listen, that's like, I know for a fact when you're in Anaheim, you're rushing out as fast as you can. That doesn't mean Torts couldn't have done a quick little media scrum.
Yeah.
I mean, he still could have done it. I don't know what his reasoning was, and I'm sure we'll get some sort of answer on it. But it's funny.
Well, even Marner at the podium said we have 10 minutes or Torts is going to leave us behind. They literally had a bus and plane.
My assumption here is there's more to this that we don't know. I've seen a bunch of the the blue check brigade freaking out about it and like, this is Torts.
Well, for the media, they want to do their job.
The media wants to do their job. I just think everybody's jumping to conclusions and saying Torts is. I saw somebody write that Torts is the worst, most arrogant coach to cover in all of professional sports, and like that just tells me you're not paying attention. It doesn't mean Torts hasn't had some bumpy moments. You go back to like him and Larry Brooks back in New York in the day. Like obviously we've had some real noteworthy moments. We've also seen him freak out on the media in Philadelphia when he disagreed. But listen, he's a passionate guy, and it's not like his team played poorly. They went out and had a dominant game 6 effort. Dominant. Like there wouldn't be any reason. I don't know. Like maybe his idea was I don't want to make it about me, but by doing that, unfortunately, it ends up making it about he becomes the story a little bit.
Yeah. Well, Howdy, it's David in our chat is from Orange County. He said he was at the game last night, and even he just said 11 p.m. curfew, no planes in or out, or else it's a massive fine. So again, you have someone from Orange County who's writing that in our chat.
No,
sorry.
It's a known thing when you do play there. If that's your last stop, you got to get out of there really, really quickly. That is a known thing. So, I think Torts has built enough goodwill, at least with me, where I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt on this and just wait to hear why. That's all. He may give an answer that I don't like, and on Monday I may have more to say about it, but I'm just not. I've watched him operate from Philly, and then I know the people he works with and the ESPN stuff and all this good stuff. So like he has enough goodwill. He gets the benefit of the doubt with me. That's all that.
Yeah.
That's all.
And I will say Greg Wyshynski tweeted the annoying thing about Torts not speaking to the media is that Marner actually put him over big time in his post-game avail, saying that Torts, quote unquote, brought our swagger back. Would have been cool to get his reaction in the moment to that statement, alas. Like, that would have been, I mean, maybe they will ask Torts whether it's tomorrow or Sunday or whenever the next media availability is about that, but that speaks volumes, right? Mitch Marner saying that John Tortorella gave them swagger. And now, he comes in with 8 games left, and now the Vegas Golden Knights have found their way in the Western Conference Final. I mean, the guys must be loving playing for him, right? Like, I think that's what matters most.
He's coaching the Vegas Golden Knights next year, confirmed, right? Yeah. I mean, there's no way you're going to go out and find another coach. There's no way.
No.
For the way Vegas operates and the fact that I have a hard time seeing them win a cup this year, albeit I will be rooting for them. A major reason is Torts, but also I always get behind Jack Eichel and the way that he plays and the way that he leads. They also won the last couple of games without Mark Stone too. I mean, you can't forget about the fact that they're missing some pretty important players in that lineup right now. So hopefully Stone, I mean, we haven't gotten any updates on him, right? It's been kind of all quiet. Hopefully we'll see him back in the Colorado series. They're going to need him,
Well, there also is 6 days off. That series won't start till Wednesday night. So we do have a few nights here coming up without hockey. There's no hockey tonight as far as NHL playoffs go. No playoffs tonight, no playoffs Sunday. We might have a game 7 if necessary between Montreal and Buffalo on Monday night, but then there's no games Tuesday. So we are entering the, 1 game a night territory for the next week and a half, 2 weeks, and then hockey's just over like that. So we got spoiled, I feel like, watching 4 games a night, then into 3 games a night, 2 games a night, and now, it's a couple nights a week here with games. What?
We're gonna get our fix by doing the show in the morning and letting the chat just argue with us and argue it. I feel like when there's not games is when we start arguing with the chat. That's when things start getting, you and me get into it, and then the chat starts taking sides. So that's usually what happens when there's not a lot of games. But I'm actually okay with this weekend being a little bit, not full of games. I'm okay with that, like a little recharge almost. And then when will the conference finals? When will game 1 be for the conference finals?
It's Wednesday night for the Western Conference Final. I believe if Montreal closes it out Saturday, it'll be Tuesday night for the Eastern Conference Final. And then if it is a game 7, that game 7 will be Monday. And if there is a game 7, then game 1 of the conference final will be Thursday for the Eastern Conference Final. But the West already locked in 100% Wednesday night. And I think it depends on what happens tomorrow night for the East. So it could be Tuesday or Thursday. Speaking of that, I guess, should we give like a quick little pick between Colorado and Vegas? I mean, I don't know if we'll get back into that
Not
series
yet.
so much. Not yet. We'll save it. Okay.
Not yet. We'll save that.
Well, having these 5-6 days off, I think is huge, obviously, for Vegas as well. I mean, because their series won 6 games last round, 6 games this round. They close it out in 5 and 6. The closeout games have been the most impressive things, though, for Vegas, right? I think they won 5-1 in Utah in game 6 to close it out, and they win 5-1 last night in Anaheim to close it out. The way that they've been able to find their game later in a series, because Anaheim, came out and was the better team, Colby, in game 4. But game 5, game 6, just like the first round, game 5, game 6 against Utah, it was pretty strong showings from the Vegas Golden Knights. What is that thing? What's happening?
I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing at what's happening in our chat right now.
I see that.
There's some interesting back and forth happening in the chat right now. But let me ask you this, Jonny. When you look at Anaheim, and I think we can all agree that this is a team that is destined for good things. I think Verbeek has come out swinging in a big way. And he's just seemingly hit.
Well, he's got a lot of work to do. Their whole right side of the blue line isn't signed. They're all unrestricted free agents. So they got a lot of work to do this summer. Jacob Trouba, I believe Racco Gudas's contract is also up this summer. So they'll have to re-sign him if they want to keep him their captain. I would imagine they do want to keep him. And then
I think at his
John
age,
Carlson.
He'd be coming back on a decently friendly deal. I think he would be, he made $4 million the last couple of years, which has been good money for him. Even though you have to give so much of it up when you live in California, but I would think he comes back. But it kind of leads me to my question: when you have, a couple of RFAs like Leo Carlsson and Cutter Gauthier both up for extensions.
Yeah.
So chat, let's get you guys thinking a little bit here. What do you guys think those two players are going to get? Because obviously, they're both young players, 21, 22 years old. They both had great seasons. I mean, I'd have to look up exactly what Leo Carlsson's stats looked like during the regular season. I'm looking right now.
I think he was in the 60s.
67 points. So he had 29
but he
and
was
38.
Hurt, right?
29 and 38 in 70 games. So, and then you look at Cutter, and Cutter had a lot of goals,
40 plus goals. Yeah.
You pay for goals, right? What are they getting? Are they getting identical contracts? Cutter had 69 points in 76 games. So, Cutter's more of a Cy Young type of guy, 41 and 28, right? He's not, he's not going Splitsville on the goals and the assists. How much are you comfortable paying those guys?
I don't know. It's so hard. I feel like 8.5 is the floor, right? That's the floor.
That's not. I don't know if that's even close.
You think they get that much in their first deal after their ELC?
Yeah, I do. Because think about this. This is what I want you to think about. If you're them, you're saying, okay, listen, if you're not going to give me $11 million a year, then I want a 3-year contract. You know what I mean? Like, I want to walk into UFA. And here's the problem here is that these two guys, 7-year deal. Thank you for that, Josh. I forgot we've changed the rules, but it just means the numbers are going to go up. You know, the years will go down. But here's my thought here. With the crazy increase of the cap, right? Like the cap's going to be 100. And
I guess Charlie Coyle got 6.
They take a 3-4 year deal, and the cap goes up to 130 million when they come out of their next contract. They're going to say we want 22 million a year.
Yeah.
So if you can lock them up for 7 years and you can buy almost 4 years of free agent UFA years from them, think about their ages, 21 and 22. So you get one of them to 29 years old and one of them to 28 years old. Like, you'd be buying some really expensive years on these guys. Like, those years might cost you 17, 18, 19, maybe $20 million. So, I think Verbeek's got to kind of buy that down a little bit.
Yeah, and he's got the whole blue line to figure out too. The only guy who's extended long-term is Jackson Lacombe right now. But let's save this because we do have Mikey Reilly here, Colby. So we'll switch gears, talk some Carolina Hurricanes. We'll park this conversation for a little bit. Let's bring in Mikey Reilly, a guy I'm so excited to talk to. Mikey, thanks for doing this. I know you're hopping on the ice here in like an hour, so we appreciate you joining us in the morning early here. What's it been like the last couple of days with all of his time off?
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Yeah, it's been honestly the same thing we just did like 2 weeks ago. So I'm sure you guys saw that viral clip of Marty saying 2 days off there. So we had 2 days off to start with, and a little bit of practice, and now we're back at it today. I think we're just kind of wait and see a little bit, but kind of weird time a little bit. But obviously we basically did the same thing like 2 weeks ago. So in a way, it's good to kind of get away a little bit, but at the same time, you got to stay sharp. And obviously all the guys are watching the games, and we're kind of wondering when we're going to potentially play here. And obviously Montreal won last night, so I guess we'll see.
Do you have a preference? Is there one team that you favor over playing the other? And maybe it's on ice reasons. Maybe it's because there's great restaurants in one of the better restaurants in one city versus the other.
Yeah, obviously Montreal has some of the best restaurants, as I feel like you were hinting at there. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I know Montreal kind of gave us a hard time this year, and I know they won a few against us, but I don't think any guys have said, hey, we prefer to play this team. And either way, at the end of the day, we're just kind of how Roddy wants us to play. It's it's the same every night, no matter who we're playing. And obviously we're respecting who we're playing, but at the same time, it's we're playing to our identity every single night, and it almost doesn't matter.
Mikey, you said like all you guys are watching the games, obviously. Are you like us? Like, our group chat's just firing off like every time a big play is made? Like, Demidov scores that goal last night, we're like, oh my God, that was sick. Are you guys like texting as a team? I'm not saying they're glazing like that was sick.
Do me a favor. Don't rope us into this. You're the only one who's texting Vic and I play-by-play every game as if we're not watching the game. All right, don't drag us into your overly theatrical, dramatic text messages that you send us all night.
Get excited. I like hockey.
Yeah, no, I'm in a few chats with a few buddies, and I'm kind of in the background a little bit, but I like watching hockey in general, so I'm definitely excited to watch all these games, and following some stuff on Twitter a little bit, and just seeing some guys kind of go back and forth with one another on Twitter and whatnot. And but no, it's exciting, and I think the other night a couple of us were watching the Montreal Buffalo game, and so yeah, like I said, it's just kind of a wait and see here, but definitely exciting.
I'll tell you one guy who was blowing up my phone this morning when he saw you were coming on our show, because he's a little chap that you haven't been inviting him out on the boat on the weekends. And that's Reamer. He was like, make sure you tell him my phone better be ringing when those boat days on the summer start popping up. He wants to be a Minnesota guy so bad. Like, I feel like you got to keep him on the outside looking in. I know he lives on the lake and all, but like he's a Jersey guy. Like he's not a mini guy.
Yeah, he's been there for, I don't know, probably forever, maybe close to 15
21,
years.
22 years old, he bought that house, and then he redid it.
Yeah, bought it, then knocked it down, redid it. But, he was nice enough. He had a bunch of, it was like me, Brock Nelson, Jake Gardner, and Bogosian, basically coming over to Reamer's house for about 7-8 straight summers. So
no way.
I think he's definitely in the Minnesota, maybe a Minnesota guy as of now, but obviously he's an out east guy. But Reamer's been great. He's been letting me kind of come to work out at his house for my first probably 7-8 years pro, and get to see him in the summer. And obviously he's had an unbelievable career. Well, I guess we'll see if he keeps it going here. But he's one of my all-time favorites.
Mikey, another guy pretty well, who actually was on our show last week, who was talking about you, is Tony DeAngelo. And he mentioned that he spoke to Rod this summer about you and about how you'd be such a good fit in Carolina. And I'm kind of just curious, like, what it was like for you this summer, getting to Carolina, what that conversation with Rod was like, and obviously, how Tony played a part in it.
Yeah. I think the free agency for me was a little slow. I mean, just the year I had last year, I missed most of the year with the health issue I had. So it was, a little scary kind of coming into free agency there, and not sure who's all was going to be interested. But I know Tony reached out to me, and kind of just like you said, he thought it was going to be a good fit, and I believe he talked to some people, in the Hurricanes organization, and when they called, on first day of free agency there, I was excited, and Tony's an awesome guy, and just from playing with him briefly, and I've known him for the last couple of years through Brady Shea and a few of the other Ranger guys that are Minnesota guys. He had great things to say about his time here, and obviously he can be a guy where people, if you don't get to know him, you're gonna have an opinion on him. But when I played with him, the guys loved him, and so I guess I give Tony a pat on the back a little bit for pump my tires a little bit. But it was actually funny too. And when I signed with Carolina, I was on the golf course with Brady Shea, and obviously Shazy had a great couple years here, and he was saying great things about the organization. So kind of pretty funny, kind of being around those two guys a little bit, around the agency there.
We always talk about, because I've known him since he's a young kid. Mike, he grew up in Philly. I'm from outside of Philly, but just knowing him and seeing just like how caring he is with like youth hockey and everything, like people that don't know him just really do have the wrong impression of him. So every time we ask a guy about him, everybody's always glowing in the way that they talk about him. And he is a guy that's looking out for everyone. Like he is. I know he's always trying to help guys get jobs and find things to do. And, even when he does his hockey camps in the summer, he's always asking me like, hey, you want to come out? You want to, he's like, obviously we'll pay you. We'll take care of everything, whatever. He really is that type of guy. So I love having someone who comes on and talks about him like that. Cause he comes on our show a lot, and we really do feel a lot of love for him, and we root for him a lot.
Yeah. It's funny you say that, cause I remember last year when, I was playing with him, he was kind of talking about his summer camps, and I think I just saw recently. I'm sure you guys talked to him about it. He was in Toronto with
Barzal.
Little guy.
I just know he was talking about that, and you can just see, it seemed like he was very passionate, and wanted to help out some younger kids and kind of put his time back into the game that he's been able to get the last little bit. So definitely a good guy.
Mike,
it's funny too. I'm the example of the one who. Go.
I just want to follow up with it a little bit, because we're talking about you being a good fit and just the role that you've played, and you came in and did a great job when your number was called, filling in. You're obviously a veteran. You know the league, like you understand things well. But when you get to Carolina, we always hear that like there's a system in place in Carolina. Like the Carolina Hurricanes are going to play a certain way, and they're not going to deviate from it. And everybody loves playing for Rod. And it's like, it's almost like this pre-scripted messaging, but it's not pre-scripted. It's just everybody generally has the same experience. So like, what is it about the culture there that Rod is built and that Justin Williams comes on our show and tells us about, and the way that you guys play like such a disciplined, well-oiled machine? And it really is impressive to the point where we get shit in the media because we just expect you guys to be where you are. We don't give you guys enough credit. We just expect you to win. We're like, oh yeah, they've got 2 sweeps. No big deal. We expected them to dominate everybody for the first couple of rounds. Like, it's almost unfair, but it's what you guys have created down there in Carolina. And I'm curious, like, what have you made of all of it, and why? What is in the water in that locker room?
Yeah, I mean, well, for me, it's obviously I haven't played every game this year, but we definitely got a deep decor. But just when my number's called, you got to be ready, and that's kind of the mindset. But it's I've had a couple playoff series against them, and they do play. We do play a certain way, and every single guy is bought in, and first line to the fourth line, it really doesn't matter. Kind of who you are. Everyone's gonna compete, and if there's a time to get a puck in, we're gonna get a puck, and we're gonna forecheck, and we're gonna get the puck back, and try to play in the O-zone. And maybe it's not you're winding it up all the time and bringing pucks back all the time. It's we have an identity, and give credit to guys like Jordan Staal and Svechkov, Aho, Martinook, all these guys that ever since Roddy's been here, every single year they've gotten better and better and better, and it's just the buy-in. And obviously with Roddy's the coach, everyone respects him, and played well over 1,000 games, won a Stanley Cup here, and so he really resonates with the guys, and when he speaks, guys listen, and it's for me, kind of coming into this locker room is pretty easy. Just, hey, this is how it's done, and this is how we play, and if you do this, and this, you're gonna be fine. So, like I said, give credit to a lot of the guys that have been here since Roddy's been here, kind of building this, and it's pretty easy for me. And obviously, there's been a couple new guys that came in this year as well that are kind of the bigger dogs than me. But guys like Keandre and Nicky, who's fit in great, and this is kind of Nikishkin's first year too, and he's been great. So yeah, it's just guys love coming to the rink every single day. It's a fun locker room, and when it's time to work, we put our work boots on.
So Mikey, when you say like it's fun coming to the locker room every day, like I feel like when you're winning as much as you guys are right now, going 8-0 in the playoffs, all you want to do is keep on playing, right? You just can't like wait for the next game because everything's going your way. This break, has it been like a little bit, I don't know what the right word would be, but while you guys are having fun and you're probably on top of the world right now, is there a part of it where it kind of sucks because you want to be playing hockey games with how good it's been?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's like I said earlier, did the same thing 2 weeks ago, and it is what it is. That's just a situation. But I know kind of Roddy said, hey, we're obviously, we got to stay dialed in, but at the same time, it's kind of use the break to your benefit a little bit to kind of recharge, recover a little bit, and but when we come to the rink every single day, we're kind of harping on the same things every single day. Practice, we're guys are working, it's habits, and although we have the time off, it's every single day of practice, the guys are kind of doing the exact same thing that they'd be doing in a game type stuff. So that's something I've kind of picked up since I've been here that been pretty impressed with. But I mean, guys can keep it light. There's some great guys in there, and but at the end of the day, we're just kind of waiting to see how that series shakes out.
Yeah, listen, we're all kind of thinking it's going to be a Montreal, Minnesota, or a Montreal, Carolina conference final, and that has the just potential to have two teams that are going about it in a different way. So it's going to be, hopefully, even if it's Buffalo, it's just going to be great to see like who can impose their will more on the other side, because you're just going to have a lot of real talented players. Look, before we let you go, we obviously, Johnny's out covering the USHL Clark Cup right now. And we do a lot of college hockey. We love talking about college hockey. So we can't have you on here without asking you, like, how do we get the Gophers going back in the right direction? And I don't mean this to throw shade, but I remember being down between the benches of that overtime game against Quinnipiac. And obviously ever since that, they've kind of been looking for their footing. They bring in Brad Larson, a guy who's got a great reputation. You get some alumni back in, and I think having Marty there is going to be great in a full-time capacity now. So what are you thinking about your Gophs? Because we do have one or two people in our chat that are big-time Gopher fans.
Yeah. It's funny. Actually, even when Bob Motzko took over, he did, and kind of Paulie Martin included, did a great job of kind of getting the alumni back in the mix a little bit. And every single summer we do a alumni golf tournament, and that was kind of irrelevant kind of right when I came out of college. So I think they've been getting the alumni kind of back involved and making sure we're kind of a part of it a little bit. And I think I try to follow a little bit during the year, and kind of sounded like Minnesota kind of had a younger team this year, but I spoke to Larson briefly, and he actually recruited me years ago, and I believe when he was at Duluth. But no, I think Minnesota's coming. I think Motzko did a great job, and Larson was a great hire, and I think it sounded kind of like a transition year a little bit in the younger team, but it sounds like they got some good guys in the portal, and I feel like, including myself, the alumni feel like we are a part of it in a way, and we're backing the guys, and we're excited for what they can do, and because obviously the college experience is, you guys know, the best couple of years of your life. So I think Minnesota, I definitely think is trending up.
Yeah, well, get that checkbook ready, pal, because they're going to want those NIL donations. Yeah. They're going to want whatever amount of zeros you put on that check. They're going to want one zero on it. All right, so don't. I know. Don't forget it, man. Listen, we're grateful to have you on. We know things are busy right now with practice and being ready, and I'm sure we'll see you here in this series, and we'll be rooting for you, and we appreciate your time. And like, we do have a lot of Carolina Hurricanes fans that are in our chat every single day, big contributors to our show, passionate people. So I'm sure they were grateful to hear from you today, and I'm sure they're well behind you going into the conference finals here.
Awesome. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Thanks, Mikey. Good luck. You too. All righty, Colb. Awesome stuff with Mikey Reilly. Always a guy that I love seeing at MSG when whichever team he's on comes through.
You just know him from when he was an Islander? How do you guys?
No, he actually. It's funny. He was kind of, I don't know if I'd say busting my balls, but in the locker room, like maybe 2 years ago, because I go to every road team's morning skate at MSG.
Were you sitting in someone's stall?
No. He was like, I always see Schmaltz chirping you on Twitter, and I was like, yeah, that's me. So that's kind of like how
always the butt of the joke.
We first started talking, but yeah, he's a super nice guy, and obviously, being on the Islanders and stuff, it was fun getting to know him in the brief stint that I did. But always super nice to me, and I love the guys that I guess who see my stuff on social media that will say something to me, because that's one of the weirdest things too, right? Like, you kind of walk into a locker room and you don't know if anyone knows you or not, and like I remember introducing myself to Jake Wallman, and he was like, "I've seen you on TikTok," and I was like, "Oh God." Like, it's kind of funny when that happens. And it always feels like a little weird sometimes, because I don't know, it's like weird knowing that people see like your stuff, but that's a story for another day. Yeah.
I want to finish that conversation we were having about Carlsson,
Cutter and Leo.
And Jim the Swede. And I kind of thought this, but I wasn't sure. So I just kind of let this go by, but I know Jim the Swede knows his shit. They can sign 8-year deals up until September
15th. Yeah.
So that means those guys can and will sign 8-year deals. Right. And so again, you've got to hope that these guys are willing to go term and full term, get 1 to 30 and 1 to 29. And you got to hope, though, because these players now, man, some of them are willing to do the Auston Matthews thing and do the short-term contracts, and they're going to look at what McDavid did. I mean, listen, I could see Cutter Gauthier saying, you know what? I'm taking 3-4 years. I don't want an 8-year deal, because he's going to say, I'm going to be a 50 goal scorer, and then I'm going to ask for $25 million a year. I could see that.
I think I have somewhat of a comparable. I was trying to think of a player, like who could you look at if you're those two guys and say, this is what I want and this is what I deserve. Logan Cooley signed a 8-year, $10 million AAV contract this year for his first deal.
This past season?
Yeah, this past year. He signed it in when did he sign it? I don't see the exact date. But yeah, he has an 8-year, $10 million per year contract coming up off his entry-level contract. I think that's probably the most comparable for those two guys, right?
10 and a half he got?
10 flat.
So that means those guys are, I mean, listen, 1 year later, man, like every year those dollars go up. Maybe 10 is a starting point for those guys, but I believe it goes between...
He signed it in October.
11 and 12 is really, in my opinion, what the number is. And I got to tell you, that will be a bargain for what those two players are going to do for you for a while. If I was buying stock in a team that I thought could win multiple Stanley Cups, of all the rebuild teams, obviously you know how much I love you know how much I love Macklin Celebrini, but like Macklin doesn't have yet, and maybe I'll change my mind after a couple of years, but like Smith looks like a very good NHLer, but he doesn't look like Cutter at this point. He's not scoring like Cutter. He's not impacting the game like Cutter. And look, I think when all's said and done, like Carlsson being a big center, I think I lean him over Connor Bedard even. So like, I think those two as wingmen, and then obviously there's other players coming through. McQueen is coming. I know Clara, the goaltender, I think some people are kind of high on him. Some people are not as high on him. I just think that those two guys I'd buy their stock on potentially winning multiple Stanley Cups.
Beckett too, Seneca.
I'm going to close the door to my office for one
second.
Yeah,
you're good. Beckett, Seneca, I'd say, is another one. Vic is actually saying, what does Connor Bedard get? Like, that's where this is all confusing. Like, just who is the baseline for these contracts? Who's like, because the first one to sign it, is it going to be Bedard? Like, is he the baseline? Right? Like, of this like new group?
Well,
like
remember, centers get paid. Centers get paid differently, right? You've got Carlsson and Cutter that just had pretty good runs of the playoffs. Seneca had a pretty good run of the playoffs.
But I agree with Dabo. Like 10.5 for Bedard probably sounds right.
Yeah, but like, is he going to accept 10.5? I mean, he probably hasn't played more than 10.5. Do you have to almost like make a statement because he's your franchise player and give him that bigger number? Listen, like that's a trickier one in my opinion in Chicago, because you've sort of he was billed as the next
his first contract. Like that's
greatest thing. I know, but Johnny, the days of the
it's done. Yeah.
It's done. The bridge contracts are done. And the reason being is like these kids think a little bit differently now. And I do think you're going to see more guys willing to bet on themselves. And so
the Matt Boldy contract is insane.
I mean, listen, the Lane Hudson contract is insane, right? Yeah. I mean, that's insane. So, but if you're Cutter or if you're Leo and you're sitting there and they've got an offer in front of your face for $94 million to get you to 30, you're going to make $94 million before you turn 30. Like, how are you saying no to that? Because you're in your mind, you're like, maybe I can make 130. They'll both get another contract. They'll both probably get another 7-year contract at the end of it. So those two guys really, really impressed. And they're going to, like, I would not be nervous about paying either of those two guys.
No,
if I'm an Anaheim Duck fan and I see those rich contracts handed out to him, I have no concerns whatsoever. They're big guys. You got to hope they're going to be durable. They play a type of hockey that should win in the playoffs, even though those guys got quiet the last couple of games of the playoffs. they were not as impactful. But I'm buying that stock. I'm buying stock on the Anaheim Ducks. I really am.
Well, it makes you think too, and Josh Miller just kind of put this in our chat, saying Jarvis under 8, Aho under 10, Slavin under 6.5, Blake under 5.5, and Stankoven at 6. Like, pretty damn good for the Carolina Hurricanes with what they got going right now. Like,
but
those
again,
are unreal
you always
contracts.
Have to look at when they sign them, and that's
I'm just saying going forward.
We used to marvel at. Remember, there was a time David Pastrnak was only making like $6 million a year, and everyone was like, "Holy shit!" Bergeron never made more than 6.5. That's what I mean. Like, those are, now at the time, that $6 million was 8% of the cap. Now 12 million is 8% of the cap. So that's where we have to always remember to look at the percentage of the cap.
Yeah, Vic is saying Matthews, Marner, Eichel got 10 million like 10 years ago. These guys will and should get more. That's a good point. But again, like, how much more? Like,
neither of them had 100 points this year.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not like they had 100 points. Cutter had 40 goals, which is crazy.
Vic said Marner got 10.9 after his ELC and Matthews got 11.6. So I guess like, it's got to be,
they're playing in that level. That's
right,
why
so
I'm
we're starting.
You, I believe you're talking about a number between 11 and 12. Now, Verbeek is a stubborn negotiator. Like, he is a stubborn guy. And so that may work in his favor because he's probably willing to play hardball. But if Leo Carlsson gets 12 by 8 and Cutter gets 11.5 by 8 or 11.75 by 8, like, I don't know. Like, I'm not walking away from that thinking, hey, this is not good. I'm thinking this is really good because we are locked and loaded and built for long-term success.
Yeah, I'm starting to think after this conversation and after like the comments in our chat, I mean, I feel like an idiot saying 8.5, but I'm thinking that 11 is probably the minimum now for both guys.
Yeah,
just going on what everyone's.
I didn't realize what other people have.
I didn't realize that McDavid signed a 12.5 by 8 after his entry level contract too. But also that's like Connor McDavid. Like, you know what I mean? It's kind of different than Leo and Cutter, but like those two guys had what did Connor have 100 points the second year? You see Connor's numbers. It's crazy how some people just like know this stuff off the top of their heads. Like, I have a hard time remembering that kind of stuff. But Connor McDavid, his first year, I think there was an injury too, right? Yeah, he played. Yeah, he had 100 points his second and third year. Like, that's
and he also
insane.
signed it, but he signed it again. I don't think it's ever like you can never look at what McDavid got and then use that for other people. Remember something, like there's the elite players and then there's the exception to the rule, right? And I think McDavid is probably always the exception to any rule. Look what he did on his last contract. Now, I criticize him for what he did on his last contract. I'll still criticize him because I personally believe that you need to keep pushing the envelope for other players to push the envelope. Now, I do wonder, like with Celebrini, because now his name's popping into our chat, is he going to go and say, hey, I'll be a little more like team friendly and take a short-term deal? Or is he taking the 8 years? Because if he takes the 8 years, I sure hope he says, I want the same thing that Kirill Kaprizov has. If you're Macklin Celebrini, would you be angry if he got the Kirill Kaprizov contract? Do you think he's as good as Kaprizov?
I think the Kaprizov contract is going to end up being like the Shesterkin one, where we kind of thought that would be, the new benchmark, but then it's just a little bit higher than what other guys are going to like. Obviously, everyone wants to get paid that much, but you do hurt your team when you make $17 million. Like, we both thought Kaprizov was worth it, right? Like, we think the world of Kaprizov. I think you think that. I mean, am I putting words in your mouth by saying that?
I'm not upset about Kaprizov. That's what I'm never mad at a player for getting paid the max dollar. Never mad at that. Your job as a player, it's not to do the GM's job and manage the salary cap and build a roster. It's to play.
But it's hard to build a roster when you have guys making that. It's hard.
Well, the cap is going up. Remember something. If Macklin and even Kaprizov, when these deals are in their 4th and 5th seasons, the cap might be 130 million at that point. You know what I mean? And then again, the percentage, it's really like having an $11 million guy today. You can win with an $11 million guy on your roster.
But I think you do need some guys to take less to win. You do.
Yeah.
Like,
well, be a good GM, find players for the bottom of your lineup that are hungry. Look what Florida's done. Florida went out for a couple of years and filled in with depth pieces for $1 million for $775. Look how much production they got out of Nate Schmidt. Look at some, Minnesota tried it with Jeff Petrie this year. Didn't work out quite the same. But we've seen it. We saw Tampa do it. I remember when Shaddy went to Tampa for $1 million and won a cup, right? So you be a good GM. It's not the player's job to do the GM's job. That's
what do you
ridiculous.
think of Jim the Swede's comment?
Let's see.
If I'm Greer, I'm slapping at least 16 at 8 years, not as much as Kaprizov, but that's an overpayment to keep him there. Macklin wants to win with San Jose to get $150 million at 20.
Yeah, I think, Jim, if they offered him an 8-year, $16 million a year deal, I think he would happily pen to paper that. Listen, Macklin grew up he's not. I don't think Macklin plays this game for money. Knowing him a little bit, I don't think he's. And some guys play the game for money, and there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. Listen, whatever your motivation is in life, that's your own personal decision maker. But I don't think Macklin is making decisions based on money. Remember, his dad works with the Warriors. He's kind of near his family. He's not far from Vancouver. I think Macklin would be A-okay spending the next 8 years in San Jose. And obviously that's going to be put in front of him. So I think that you don't have to worry about him only making decisions for money. Basically what I'm saying here, Jim, is that I don't think Macklin's going to sit here and say, you know what? I need that extra million so I make more, 1.1 million, so I'm the highest paid player in the NHL. Type of stuff, I don't think he gives a shit about when it comes to it. But I do hope he takes a big contract because, again, I don't like the precedent that it sets for the next guy who will. Because all we're going to do now is call Kaprizov a villain for the next 8 years. Every time they don't win in the playoffs, it's going to be it's Kaprizov's fault. I don't like that premise. I do not like that premise.
But this guy who makes who I guess his contract kicks in next year, though he's not making it yet, but you're paying him $17 million. And while I thought he played pretty good in game 5, he doesn't even register a shot on goal.
So, Johnny, I don't have any issue with you calling out performance at all.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, if you make $17 million, we're not grading you at this level anymore. We're grading you at this level now.
And that's why every time Shesterkin lets in a goal, you hear 11.5.
But I just, again, we always blame the player. Nobody says, well, Chris Drury screwed up. Nobody's blaming Chris Drury. It's they get angry at
their job
Shesterkin.
To keep the player. Yeah.
So we're just so quick to turn on players with fan bases, and that's always something I don't like. Players don't hand themselves contracts. GMs do.
But I think in this case, Jack Eichel, who we think the world of, making 13.5 now. He just signed that deal for 13.5 million. He could have probably made more, but he's not. And he wants to win in Vegas. That's the contract Jack Eichel signed.
And that's part of it is hey, I love where I live. I love my situation in life. I live in a place where there's no state income tax. So that's, $500,000, $700,000, $800,000 a year more than if I was somewhere else. All of these things. And so Jack decided that was the right number for him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And look, if we talk about the hypothetical of where the cap's going, Johnny, and it's okay to look at that, but we're also not there yet. It's still what's coming, not where we are.
To make one thing clear, I believe that Shesterkin is worth 11.5. I believe that Kirill Kaprizov is worth 17. That doesn't mean they have to take that, though. You know what I mean? Sidney Crosby is worth whatever the highest paid he could have been over his career, but he didn't take it. He didn't have to take it. I think that's what we're running into, and it's not selfish to. If you can make $15 million instead of 17, I don't think is that big of a deal, right? It's changed.
You're saying
it's not,
for the player, or you're saying for
when players take less now, they used to be taking less where it'd be 10 million to 7 million. But when it's 15 million to 17, it's like there's
Johnny,
a lot of money.
Listen, you're playing a dangerous game there.
It's a lot of money.
I get that it's a lot of money, but you're playing a dangerous game, man. I disagree with you here. We're not going to sit here and say, oh, it's one thing to go from 10 million to 8 million. It's another thing to go from 15 to 13. Like, we could understand why you don't want to go to 8 million, but we can't understand why you want 15 over 13. Like, I think you're playing a dangerous game. This is a personal thing. It's hard for people to wrap their head around because it's amounts of money that you can never believe. Listen, Johnny, I remember my first time spending a full pay period in the NHL. And I remember when we get, you get emailed your pay stub in the morning, and then you obviously like you can check your bank account or whatever. And like, it was like I couldn't believe it, the difference, because I had already gotten a couple of American League paychecks. You're paid basically a day rate, and one day in the NHL is worth more than a full pay period in the American League. So I understand it, Johnny, but I'm just saying,
if the guys who want to win, it's clear they take less to do so.
Yeah, I don't think that Kirill Kaprizov wants to win any less than Jack Eichel because he took more money. I don't compute those things together here, Johnny. I just think you're asking players to do general managers' jobs. Like I just completely disagree with this entire premise. I don't like or agree with.
That's not really what I'm saying, though. I'm not saying like Kirill Kaprizov wants to win less because he's getting paid more. It's like that's not what I'm saying. Maybe it's not coming out the right way that I intended on being. I'm saying like the money now, I guess, is so much bigger than it used to be, where to me, I guess it shouldn't feel like they are necessarily quote unquote taking less when the money is more. Like now in today's world, that's kind of what I'm getting at, I guess. Not that he wants to win less. And again, like Shrimp on the Bar, we said Kaprizov had 45 goals during the regular season, 15 points in 11 games in the playoffs. What more do you want him to do? I didn't like critique Kirill Kaprizov's playoffs, but in game 5, a game that Minnesota has to win to keep their season alive, the guy you paying $17 million doesn't register a shot on goal.
Player on the ice. He's got to be the best player on the ice, or he's going to take
the heat.
And I don't have any problem being critical of that. I always say on this show, we can't, like, when I see, it drove me crazy this year watching, and you see it with every fan base, but I'll just use the Flyers, for example. Everybody couldn't get over Garnet Hathaway didn't have any points or any goals for 30 straight games or something. And I just like, my blood boils when I see that type of thing, because first off, like, you're not paying Garnet Hathaway $1 for goal scoring. Whatever his salary is, it's got $0 are attributed to him needing to score goals or contribute offensively. When you sign players, you put them into a role of how they fit as a larger piece of the puzzle. And goals and points, it's the only thing you ever hear people talk about is when this player's on the ice, like, he's got this many shots on goal and this many points. Like, it doesn't compute.
Yes.
It doesn't.
Jim the Swede gets
matter.
me though.
Go
Jim
ahead,
the Swede
read
gets
it
what
out
I'm
loud.
saying.
Read it out
Basically, what Johnny's saying is that the amounts of money you're making are so much more from now on going forward that taking quote unquote less won't leave as big of a mark on your bank account. Like that is kind of what I'm saying.
The world is a much more expensive place.
I know.
The whole world. You can't walk out. You go to Starbucks now. It costs $23 for 2 coffees. And again, these guys aren't hurting for money. I don't want to make this sound like I'm crying poor for these players. That's not what I'm doing. I just think it's a dangerous game and a slippery slope for you and me or anyone to say you should have taken 13 over 15. That would be like, again, you go into your job, and if your salary is $250,000, but you're like, you know what, we could hire a better assistant for me if I only take $220,000 or $215,000. You doing that? I don't think so. Not when you have kids, not when you have a mortgage, not when you have car payments. Like, and again, I know $250,000 versus $13 million are very, very different things, but I don't know, man. I just think that I think it's a dangerous game to play for you and I to tell a guy what, like, oh, well, you could take the old line is, well, what can't you do with 13 million that you can do with 15 million? Like, who knows, Jonny, right? Like
Mhm.
who knows what their personal situations are like? Who knows what their family situations are like? I'm not crying about it. I'm just saying, like,
Yeah.
it's not. So we should talk about Buffalo, Montreal. I know
No, I
we were
agree. I
planning
just
on doing
saw.
that with Matthew Barnaby. I
Yeah.
don't know, Vic. Maybe you want to text him, or maybe it's even a little bit too late because Reamer's going to be on in 10 minutes. I mean, yesterday he said he would come on. When we talked to him, obviously maybe our wires are crossed here with him a little bit. So let's just talk about last night's game because again, it was a weird game in Buffalo last night.
How wrong was I? So I just kept preaching. You got to put Fowler in. The third goal, the Hellenhuis goal that Dobes gave up. I was like,
I'd have done it too. This
guy is not dialed in. But
I would have done
him,
the same thing.
That save he makes on Tage Thompson, I think, like 4 minutes into the second period, it's a breakaway for Tage, where Tage kind of is almost too patient, right? Like he goes from left to right, tries to throw it over the pad at the last second, like on the goal line, and Dobes, I think, stacks the pad or gets the pad up. And right from there, the game seemed to change, right? Like Buffalo, it seemed like they were going to not run away, but it seemed like everything they threw on net was going to go in. And Dobes, all credit to him, and Marty St. Louis had a great comment after the game about their goalie coach. He didn't want to make the decision himself. Marty trusts the goalie coach completely. He removed his own emotion from the decision, and they stuck with Dobes, who's been their guy all playoff long. I'm sure it partially has to do with Fowler, like being thrown into a pretty tough situation there. But you and I, we both know that we think the world of Jacob Fowler. But here's that play. Tage Thompson, who just waits a little too long to shoot that puck, I think, ran out of room. But right from there, that's when Montreal started getting their feet going and changing the game a little bit in the second period.
Can I ask you a question about your boy Tage Thompson, Jonny? What's up with his discipline in the playoffs? Because
I don't know.
He again, a player that I really do love his game. I love what he brings. I think he's a little bit of a unicorn in the National Hockey League, right? To be his size and have his skill, like he's a unicorn. But his penalties, the timing of them, the stupidity of them, I mean, it's like, and they're resulting.
It's not really just him, though. It's not really just him.
I get it.
It's
the discipline for Buffalo has been absolutely terrible. And the timing, like they came unraveled, in my opinion, with some of those penalties. And like, obviously UPL, like I know we're going back to Alex Lyon here. Like, look, we've said this about Buffalo. This is an exciting team. They score a lot of goals. You got absolutely shredded when you said that they're high risk, high reward. And they're high risk, high reward. And right now, they're too high risk, right? Like the way that they're defending, the way that guys are trying to get up in the offense a little bit prematurely. They're not getting the saves that they need from UPL. They certainly didn't last night. You know, previously, the reason Lyon came out is they gave up 9 over 2 games. Like, you're not going to win in the playoffs playing in shootouts every night. You're just not going to do it. I mean, that game to me was so ugly and so sloppy. Yeah. Obviously, guys made plays. The play Lane Hudson made, insane. You know, some of those face-off plays that they ran, unbelievable.
The play Lane makes is great, but look at the way Buffalo's defending without the puck. Like
everybody's watching the puck. Everybody's watching
4 or 5
Hudson.
guys in the picture here, and no one picks up.
Nobody's
Anderson.
covering anybody. Listen, that was such there was so much duplication on that goal, yet nobody actually picked up a stick, right? And Deneau does a great job of going hard to the net and just standing there and creating chaos around the net. But I don't, to me, even if I just, can Buffalo hold it together enough here over these next 2 games? I think Montreal ends it on home ice. I really do. I think just like we've seen in these other series, I think there's blood in the water now. And I think Montreal is going to go sniff that blood in the water out. I really do.
Montreal, like every time I think they're going to do that in these playoffs, they let it slip.
They haven't. Yeah, they haven't.
They let it slip. Like I am not counting out Buffalo in this game. I do feel like Alex Lyon, which he's got to be the starter, right? Like we're both on the same page.
Oh,
on that. Like
I don't think there's there's not even real conversation about that.
I do think he's capable of stealing one. I do. And And for me, like Buffalo, the Buffalo Sabres have had pretty good starts. Like that's been one thing about the Sabres where you can say they've been good in this series is they've come out with great energy. They've kind of scored early for the most part in most of these games. I think they've scored the first goal in, I want to say 5 of the 6 games. So if they can come out and have a good start, and we know there's going to be a lot of pressure up. They haven't held it together, but I think Alex Lyon can do that for one game. I do feel that way. So I'm not counting the Sabres out.
The puck watching is just it's gotten out of control.
But what I will credit Buffalo for too, offensively, they've had so much traffic in front of Dobes in the last 2 games, especially. Like there's been bodies in front of him battling and layers of screens and giving him a hard time tracking the puck. Like those first 2 goals last night. I mean, the second goal, I think the second goal was the Doan goal, right? Like that goes flat in on the ice, like doesn't deflect, doesn't.
There's a lot of bodies around,
but there's bodies there.
Yeah, he still has to come up with it. Still got to come up with it.
I do think like the Sabres give them credit. Like they've been, I said 5 of 6 games, 4 or 5 games. Sorry about that. Dabo just corrected me in the chat. Thank you, Dabo. Appreciate that. But I still think that's correct. 4 or 5 games. They've scored the first goal. I think it was every game but game 2. But I think the biggest thing for the Sabres right now is that their top guys are not playing nearly good enough. And that's Tage and that's Tuck and that's Rasmus Dahlin.
Do we have Sabres people in our chat today? Because this is coming your way here. And obviously, if you're not a Sabres fan, like weigh in here. Are you comfortable opening the big fat check to Tuck after kind of, in my opinion, a solid playoff run so far, but not
good first round, not second round.
That's why I'm saying I'm going to give him like a low B grade for the playoffs, maybe a B- for Alex Tuck. Are you comfortable the way this has gone with him of opening up a checkbook and giving him $12 million a year, right? $11 million a year.
The stat I saw, I believe he had 7 points in 6 games plus 8 against the Sabres, and against the Canadians, he has 0 points and is -8. Yeah. Like that is a drastic difference.
Connor Washburn 7761 said, "But who's out there to bring in Colby?" That's a great.
There's
point.
not.
There's not. Yeah. But what's your threshold on Tuck? Because
I think you're giving him 10.5.
This is his big deal. This is his cash in, right? It's 8 years, and Lucas says he'll get the Kempe deal. What did Kempe get? Would he get 10.5 a year?
Yeah.
Kempe?
I'll look it up.
Are you comfortable with 10.5? Are you comfortable with 10.5? You know, that's less than 10% on the cap. That's probably 10.5, probably puts you at like 9.5% in year 1 on the cap. And then each year it'll go down, 0.5% or so.
Kempe got 10.6.
So by the end of that deal, you're probably talking about a deal that's like 6% of your cap. Are you comfortable with 10.5 by 8? How old is Tuck? Is he like 30?
He's my age. 30? He's my age, 30.
He's 30 years old. So yeah.
He was my line mate at New York State
camp. Passion deal. This is his deal. He's gonna want the years. He's gonna want the distance. I would think he's gonna want to stay in Buffalo and be a part of this nucleus that is coming into their own, right? Because I do think the Buffalo Sabres, when you look at some of the core, I do think when you look at the back end, and I know most people are down on power, but like you just look at the back end and you feel pretty confident. You look at some of these young guys, Benson, Norris, that are having good success in their first run of the playoffs. Even take the bad penalties out of it. Tage has had some moments where he's had some dominant moments, and even though he hasn't, like we said, he hasn't found the back of the net as much in this round as he would like. So. I think that's an interesting question. We're talking a lot about what players are going to get. How much do playoffs come into play when you're looking at Tuck? Do you just ignore playoffs and talk about the regular season? I mean, Matthews and Marner have never had crazy playoff runs, and those guys never had an issue getting paid. Nylander as well. They've never had an issue getting big contracts. So how much of the playoffs do they take into account when you're paying Alex Tuck, when you're doing that deal?
I think he's getting 10.5, and I think he's staying. Again, because where are you spending your money if you don't keep him, right? There's not a lot of guys out there right now in free agency. Like the way that this summer is going to work is if GMs want to change the structure of their teams, it's going to be through trade. Like a lot of the free agents out there are like honestly 34 and older or 35 and older. It's an older free agent class. I think Tuck, he's a Buffalo guy. You know, he is a part of like a big part of the culture they've built there, a big part of the turnaround they've had. He's an automatic like 75, 80 point guy in the regular season. He'll help you get to the playoffs. And, you know, it's been a struggle this round, but I don't know if you can judge. Like this is a lot. Like Tuck obviously had that, you know, early run with Vegas when he was a little bit younger, back in 2018. But this is really his first postseason run as like a man, right? A lot of these guys, like Tage too.
Well, you said one interesting thing. Just because you have the money, Johnny, it doesn't mean you got to spend it all.
Yeah, spend it.
You know, you could be patient. I'm not suggesting
they're a worse team without him.
Agreed, but at what cost? And, you know, at what type of term and what type of dollar? And you never know. Remember, they were rumored to be in on Robert Thomas, and that was a trade they sounds like they got pretty far. Remember, they were in on Parayko. That got rejected, right? So there's other things you can do. There's certainly other things you can do, and you don't just have to say, okay, I have the money, so I got to spend it. I don't think Jarmo Kekalainen is that type of manager. I think we've seen him be pretty patient in the past. I mean, I kind of remember how he handled.
But you mentioned Parayko. Parayko didn't want to waive a no trade to go there.
Yeah,
people still don't want. There are still people who don't want to go to Buffalo. So again, like if you're not going to pay Alex Tuck, who are you going to find that wants to go there? I know it's great that they're back in the playoffs and they've shown, you know, they can win and they can function now. But it's still not an easy sell to get guys to want to go there.
I think they make it work with him. I think they do make it work with him.
I agree.
He's from, you know, he's from Western New York. He's been there a long time. You got to think he's pretty comfortable in his living situation. I think they make it work with him, and partly due to, as New York Marine says, there aren't going to be a ton of UFAs in the next 3 years. Like guys are locking in their deals. They are.
Yeah. We're just doing contracts this show. Like we got another. It's fun. I think
the games weren't good. They just weren't good games. There were good moments. They weren't good.
User G, lots of letters and numbers in our chat, who's a huge Buffalo fan, said, how much does Benson make? I think you just give Benson the Jackson Blake contract. You know, I think it's what is Jackson make? He's making like 5.1 maybe. I think over 5 years. I give Zach Benson that. Like Zach Benson, while he's been a beast in the playoffs, I don't know if he's getting you like 65 to 70 points in the regular season. Like maybe he could, but he's like a 40. He had 40 points this year. I think 45 points. Zach Benson. You know, maybe he's like a 50 to 60 point player, but I don't think he's much higher than that yet. He could get there, but not yet. I think he would take like that, you know, 5 year, $5.5 million contract.
Yeah, got it. Yeah, okay. Yeah, you know, all questions that are going to start happening within these fan bases the minute their teams are eliminated, right? And they no longer have the games to talk about. So, I think we got Reamer here coming up here in a minute or two. He was texting me earlier, you know, because he was texting me about Mike Reilly. So I'm sure we're gonna see him in a minute, and you know, obviously we'll bounce around the playoffs a little bit here with him and into things.
Yeah, kind of a different show today, but it's fine. It's Friday, right? And MYR Marine saying, I love the guests, don't get me wrong, but the best is the back and forth between the chat, Colby and Johnny. And this is what we love too. This is what our show was built on. We haven't been doing this enough throughout the playoffs. We've been trying to stack it with guests just every day because there is so much to talk about. But I guess today is one of those days where, you know, like we said last night, the games were kind of duds. And we do love talking to our chat and getting to know everyone in the chat too. We've got some new faces throughout the playoffs this year that we you know, haven't really seen throughout the regular season. So it's fun getting to know everybody in our chat. So keep the questions coming. We got Reamer coming on. We're happy to ask Reamer any questions you got. Fridays we can get a little out of control here. So bring it. If you got any questions for Reamer, put them in the chat. We'll try to ask him, or even just for us, like keep the chat buzzing right now. What did you want to say something? Sorry.
No, you know, I think we kind of covered those games. Yeah, I mean, it's funny. Like I saw people online last night saying how, just the old, I can't root for Carter Hart, and like I saw more people talking about Joel Quenneville. So we do have some Ducks people in the chat today, and I'd love to get everybody's feedback. Like, how do you guys feel about Joel Quenneville being back behind the bench and the job that he's done? I mean, me personally, like I think that those guys, whether it's Joel, whether it's Stan Bowman, I mean, you can kind of go down the list and listen, those guys were out of the game for a while. They paid a heavy price financially and otherwise. Carter Hart, same thing. Like, I just don't know. I don't know why when there's success happening for some of those people, the immediate need for the writers, and this is mostly what I saw out of writers on social media yesterday, were it has to be negativity, right? And it around the coaches, it does. And, one of the other sort of interesting things I saw on social media yesterday, Johnny, Bruce Cassidy was on NHL Network saying, taking the high road, and talking about, like, hey, I'm a coach. I want to coach. I hope they're going to start giving permission. It sounds like he's never met with Vegas. He's never met with LA. So to date, they haven't given permission to do any of that. It is an interesting situation. Now Jay Woodcroft is out, so you got to think Jay Woodcroft is going to be having some conversations. Would it shock you to see Jay Woodcroft end up in Toronto?
Toronto.
Manny Malhotra's name keeps coming up.
I don't see that happening.
His team didn't have a great year in Abbotsford this year, so I'm curious about that.
I don't see Jay Woodcroft going to Toronto either. To be honest, I don't know. I think they need a more experienced head coach.
David Carl is not going to Toronto, by the way. He's not going to Toronto. I asked David about the social media thing yesterday and about following Toronto, and I screenshotted it and sent it to Vic just to pop Vic's bubble. But I don't think him following the Leafs on Twitter has anything to do with him going to the Leafs. I
don't think Knobloch's going to Toronto either.
Yeah, I don't foresee that either.
Yeah.
Carousel Vertigo says Dallas Eakins. Yeah, maybe we'll ask Reamer who he thinks is a good fit. I mean, he's got some opinions about Shaka and about Matt Sundin. Reamer was in and around that organization for a while. I'm sure he crossed paths with Matt Sundin at some point. And we'll have some sort of opinion about that. So Vic, once he is here,
he's here. Let's bring him in.
Yeah, perfect. Let's bring him in. What's going on? Are you on dad duty right now, doing like school drop-offs?
I'm on the drop-off tour right now. Just finished up. So yeah, all good.
And I love that you brought the wired headphones with you.
Spinners?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Old school.
We always get chirped, you and I, whenever you come on here, that we have the wired headphones. Everyone else says that. I'm a wired headphone guy. Screw the AirPods.
Yep.
But Reamer, it's always great to see you. Colby, did you want to start with the Toronto stuff? I mean, we didn't really ask you. We didn't ask you about when you were on last week after the Leafs had actually gotten the first overall pick. Like, you were there in the organization when they won the lottery to get Matthews. Like, what do you remember about seeing that happen in that summer leading into that draft? Like, I guess, the excitement around it.
Yeah, I think that was definitely one of those drafts like throughout the year. Obviously, being in Toronto, like you see more of the stuff on just day to day. You have TSN on in the locker room, so the buildup for someone like Auston was, again, it was a lot of hype around it, and it kind of felt like things were on a way faster trajectory once we won the lottery. I think there, like, we did have a lot of good pieces in place. We obviously had that year going into that, into that lottery where it was terrible. We had a ton of injuries, lots of guys out, like, not a great year by any means, but I do think we were a team that wasn't maybe as bad as our record was, just with some of the guys that we had around and the pieces we had around. So it felt like once that happened, like, we knew a guy like Mitch was coming as well. And so again, we knew we had some good pieces in place, and we're able to add on a guy like that. It could help jumpstart things pretty fast. So it was definitely a lot more positive vibe around a team that had a tough season. Like, it wasn't like we were thinking this was going to take like us 5 years to get the thing going in the right direction.
What does your sweatshirt say? Because it's cut off, and I think I know what it says, but Team Marner Assist Foundation. Okay, so that would be his like charitable foundation. But today seems like a pretty damn good day to wear something that says Team Marner. And one of the one of the first things we said when we started the show today was like, Auston Matthews has to be watching Mitch Marner living in beautiful Las Vegas, seeing palm trees when he walks into the arena at T-Mobile. Those paychecks are a lot heavier, not paying all those taxes, living in the city of Toronto. He's got to be thinking to himself, man, that must be fun. But what can you say about Mitch Marner? Like, I mean, how good has he been? He's got to be the favorite for Conn Smythe right now.
Yeah, you know what? Again, I'm super happy for him. He's such the hockey part aside, like he's just a great person, great teammate, and all the on the ice stuff kind of speaks for itself. So obviously, he's off to a great start here in these first couple rounds, and been really fun to watch him just doing his thing out there that he's been doing for years. And sometimes the puck bounces your way a little bit more, and you start to feel it a little bit, and it's just really fun to watch, and some of the stuff he's doing out there is pretty special.
Reimer, we were kind of talking about like contracts and stuff too, Colby. We should bring Reimer into that conversation, right? Just about like what a guy like Cutter Gauthier or Leo Carlsson's next contract will look like, and I guess what it's like having, you know, a great start to your career, but entering your first contract off your ELC. Like, can you take us through what I don't remember what you signed for or what your first contract was like?
I remember.
Can you share it? Yeah.
When he signed it. I remember what he had just
done. Can you tell that story?
I mean, go ahead, Reams. You'll tell it better than I will, but I do, because he was the first one of our friend group to get the big second contract. And I remember within 2 weeks we were in a club in New York City, and then no one was grabbing their wallet. Nobody went for their wallet. Everyone's just looking at Reimer going, "You got this one. You're on this one tonight, pal."
Yeah. No, yeah, that was definitely a pretty cool thing, just to get rewarded for all the hard work that goes into it. And what was do you have a specific question about it, or just like?
I guess we were kind of talking about the number that those guys would get. Like Logan Cooley got the $10 million over 8 years. What a guy like Leo Carlsson would get, and Cutter. Yeah, it's just
here you go.
Yeah, and I think I was kind of at the close to the start of when that started to shift. I know right before I signed my deal, it was like, and the Flyers were probably one of the first teams, if not the first team, to do it this way. But I think they locked up Mike Richards for 12 years, Jeff Carter for 11 years. So they were thinking about it a little bit differently to try to, I guess, keep the cap hit down over a longer period of time, but just to have it all locked in, and then you have your guys signed through their prime. But now again, with the cap going up to kind of these record highs and record numbers, and I think the market has definitely shifted in a lot of ways that way, where even this year, like going into the off season, like a lot of teams have a lot of cap space available, which wasn't always the case the last few years. So I feel like that's going to start to, again, it's going to be even more competitive now for teams to try to sign players, just because there's not going to be like teams that are strapped and as tight to it as they were. So that's just going to make things continue to grow in that way. But I totally kind of understand. It's nice as a player, obviously, to get that security out of that. And then I'm sure you're thinking as a team, if you can lock a guy in before he gets to kind of that unrestricted age, or locking a guy in through pretty much his prime, if you can get him on for the full 8 years. But obviously there's a pretty price to pay for that, to get a guy locked in like that.
And I just wonder, because I feel like these young guys coming in now, like they've started making, some of them, good money in college now, or juniors even. And I just like wonder, will we see a shift towards, you look at like Jackson Blake's contract, you look at even Lane Hudson's contract, and like you start looking at how good a deals a lot of these, like how friendly these contracts are turning out to be. I wonder if one of these big dogs, whether it's Celebrini, whether it's Carlsson, any of these kids, Bedard, says, you know what? I'm going to go the Auston Matthews route, and I'm going to bet on myself. I'm going to take shorter term deals, almost like LeBron James has done in his career. He's like, I'll take 2-year deals, and then I'll control things moving forward. McDavid just did it. albeit his situation a little bit different with the discount that he gave the Edmonton Oilers. But do you think, just because of how confident this next generation is, that these guys will do that? But I'll just make one more comment. I can't imagine it's an easy thing to sit there and say, someone's giving me 8x11 and turning down 88 million guaranteed. Like, that's got to be you got to be a special type of guy to say, no, I'll take 4 years at whatever number, because the next one I'm going to ask for 20 million.
Yeah, you know what? That's a good point. And it kind of, the first thing that comes to mind for me is like guys that started kind of signing longer term, I think, when I first came into the league. But you look at a guy like Joe Thornton, I think he took 3-year deals pretty much his whole career. But for probably some of the reasons that you mentioned, I think when you sign that long-term deal, especially again when you're a superstar type of player, you're kind of, yeah, it's nice to be locked in, but I think you're also maybe giving up a little bit of control of your own situation for who knows what happens, right? You see coaches come and go, GMs come and go, and you might have a certain guy you have trust in, and a new regime comes in, and maybe you're not as confident. So, yeah, there's something to be said for kind of having your career more control over your career when you have these shorter term deals. But like you said, sometimes you're looking at this huge number and you're like, how could I possibly not want to have this security and for something I love to do? But I think it takes probably a certain personality to do that, because again, you're with how the game is and injuries happen and things like that. It's tough to kind of not want to have that security when someone's offering that to
Johnny,
you.
let me just ask him a follow-up here. Like, did you ever feel, because I think one year when you were making just under 6, and obviously correct me on details here, but I think you had 38 goals that year. One of the years where you were still on the end of that Flyer contract. Do I have my facts right there?
Yeah, I was that year I was making a little over 4, and I think, yeah, that was my last year on that deal. Like I had a couple years where I had 30 goals probably. Yeah, that's
30,
but that's
30,
the trade-off that
36.
you make, right?
So
36
so I'm
goals.
sitting there and I'm wondering, are you sitting there and you're going, shit, I just had 36 goals. I could be getting 10. Like, do you ever think about that when you're in the middle of one of those longer types of deals? Or you're just like, hey, how can I complain about making $6 million? I mean, we were already having that kind of argument earlier, Johnny and I.
Yeah, you know what? It's I think now, like the strategy of it, I wasn't really like, again, someone kind of offers you that deal and the security of it and how much it can change your life and your family's life. It's tough to turn that down. Like you said, I wasn't really thinking as much strategy, I guess, at that age, as far as like, okay, like how do I want to, because again, there's guys that I remember actually Matty Carl thinking about these sorts of things when he was going through his sort of whole career. Like, okay, like what age do I want to try to be an unrestricted free agent at? How do I want to set myself up for that? So like, do I maybe leave a little bit of money on the table earlier to try to really maximize when I'm able to be a UFA? And all these sorts of things. And I was thinking when he told me that, this was after I'd already signed my contract, like a few years after. I'm like, oh wow, that actually is really smart and makes a lot of sense to have that sort of analytical approach to certain sorts of things. So yeah, obviously I did a little bit of a different route where you take the security and again, you're blessed to do this. And at the time, like maybe didn't think as much about those sorts of things, but how can you really argue with something like you said, when someone puts this in front of you and you've worked your whole life to get to this point, and there's lots of those sort of things, other things that come at play. I feel like, again, there's certain guys, and maybe it allows you to kind of play a little bit freer and more confident when you have that too. You see that a lot of times as well, right? Like maybe they, at longer term, playing out the contract, you're a little underpaid, but I think you're able to play almost to a little bit higher level just because you're not worried about it, and you know it is what it is at that point, and you're just go out there and do your thing.
What did I don't remember what like Claude Giroux's contract was like, but was he a guy who took less to like, I guess help the team win? I feel like he was one of those guys.
Well, I think me and him were back-to-back years of being restricted free agents, and we kind of had similar options where to sign a longer term, which I ended up doing, or signing a 3-year, which he ended up doing. And I think, again, part of his thought process too for signing, I don't want to speak for him, but I know like with the team that we had and we were tight up against the cap, like obviously to get him locked up for a longer, like a longer deal was going to take a higher number. But I think again, his strategy was like, okay, like we have this team here that we think we might have a chance to win with. So let's kind of see that through. And then obviously I think it ended up working out great for him because I think right after he signed that, it was maybe one of the best contracts in hockey because he kind of took off. And then only ended up being locked in for 3 years before he signed that huge 8-year deal.
Yeah.
After that one was over. So
one quick thing.
Yeah, timing's everything when it comes to all this stuff. So
well, for you too, and Colby, I know we've like done this. I've made you like guess this before. Like I think, and I'll have to go back and fact check myself here, but I do think from 2012 to like 2014. 2 of the top 3 scorers in the NHL were Claude Giroux and Phil Kessel. And you played with both of them in that span.
It's longer than that, Jonny. There's like a 10-year period where he's up there with like Crosby and all. I mean, Giroux is
no, but I'm saying
I'm telling
in
you,
those 3 years, Reamer
yeah.
played with both, like in like the 2012 G and then 13-14 fit. Like it was just cool that you were kind of there for both of those, like the guys at the top of their game, pretty much.
Yeah,
I have a follow-up
sure.
question.
My list of guys that I've gotten to play with at their top of their game like that has been pretty cool. I mean, you talk about those guys and a guy like, again, Auston Matthews and
Mo Seider this year.
The list goes on and on. So, a guy like Seider, a guy like Charlie McAvoy, Pasta, legends, Marchand, Werenski. I'm probably going to end up forgetting someone. But,
geez.
I mean, guys, it's ridiculous. So I've been very lucky to play with a lot of these guys that have been incredible players.
You're the talent whisperer, which is why if you did want to be a GM someday, I think that would be something that you could definitely do. We talked a little bit about Toronto with you, and we couldn't have you on today without getting your opinion on kind of everything that's gone down with hiring Shaka. Obviously, not the hire that I think people were expecting. Feeling like the rumors were Berube's okay, he's coming back. And then all of a sudden he meets with Sundin and he meets with Shaka, and then now have relieved, Craig Berube of his coaching duties. So what do you make of the whole situation of what's going on in Toronto? Like, did you get to know Matt Sundin at all when you were there and maybe he's around, maybe he wasn't around, or know much about John Shaka?
Yeah, so with Mats, he was around from time to time, but again, I think having a guy like that involved is just a complete home run. Just his experience that he has, and I mean, he lived it, so he knows what it's all about, what it's like to play in Toronto, being a superstar and doing that, all the things that maybe go on behind the scenes. So I think having a guy there like that and being able to be in the room where some of these big decisions are being made, like he probably has that intuition now just from being there for as long as he has been, and these little details that might make a big difference for the team and guys on the team and stuff like that. So I think that's a great thing. And then actually, going back to my when I was a free agent leaving Toronto, Chaika was the GM at that point of Phoenix, and I was impressed by him just as far as just the things that he looked at as far as kind of that he thought were important as far as development. Building out the type of team he wanted to build out and having guys fit into certain roles. And I actually really enjoyed getting to talk with him and Rick Taka, who was the coach there at the time, going through that whole process, which was impressed with kind of how they were trying to go about their business. And now, again, you go from that to getting a chance to get the resources of the Toronto Maple Leafs behind you. I think that's a very interesting thing too, where he's definitely a guy that will think kind of maybe outside the box a bit, maybe a little less traditional than some other people might. So I feel like having a guy like,
nothing wrong with
which
that.
is great. Yeah. You have a guy like that. And then you have a guy like Mats, who might be a more traditional hockey guy in the sense that he played for a long time and was a superstar level player and has that sort of experience. So I feel like that's a healthy thing to have. You want to have people that maybe have a little bit different backgrounds in the way that they've been exposed to certain things. And I think that can lead to a very sort of healthy environment as you try to, do the job that they sign up for now.
Yeah, so a couple things there that I just want to touch on with you is, first off, I do agree with the fact that I think because he's not a traditional guy, I think people are more anxious and more willing to jump on him and to drag him negatively. I also think two things can be true at once. His reputation and the things that he did, it's well deserved, some of the heat that Chayka has taken with some of the rules that were broken and the way things ended. Now, there's always two sides to every story. We've never heard his side to any of that type of thing, of how dysfunctional it was in Arizona. So I've been kind of one of the, I feel like, only people that's kind of said, look, like, why don't we wait 18 months before we decide that Chayka is not the right guy and can't do the job? Because it's not going to change. He's going to be the GM. So I am glad to hear you say that. I honestly, we have never talked about this before, so it's not as if I knew that was the answer you were going to give me. But just going back a little bit, when you were a free agent, so was that a team you were strongly considering? And did they make like a presentation to you in conversations of free agency?
Yeah, that was actually probably one of the finalists of teams that I was looking at before I ended up deciding to go to Philly. So, yeah, definitely was impressed with just kind of what they were selling me on as far as the what the fit would have been and things like that and how they were looking at it. But yeah. Oh gosh, yeah.
Go ahead, Johnny.
I don't know. Do you want to shift gears, Colby, and talk a little Carolina? I know that was something we wanted to talk about last week.
Definitely.
We want to talk about their PK, and obviously we don't know who they're going to play yet. We both think. I mean, Colby, you actually didn't really give a prediction. I said I think Buffalo steals one, and we're seeing 7.
I think Carolina. I mean, I think Montreal is going to end it in 6. Like, I just think I'm seeing how these other. I think Buffalo is just sort of unraveled a little bit in their discipline, and I'm not sure you can get that back on the rails once the cat's out of the bag. So I think Montreal closes it out on home ice. But one of the things we wanted to ask you about is just the Carolina penalty kill, and what about that pressure and the way that they basically have that 3-point pressure where they even swarm on a power or on a penalty kill for them on your power play. Like, what is different about that than kind of what you're used to seeing from other teams?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I think just some of the personnel, like they've got a lot of like really like athletic, longer guys out there that even make it that much harder for time and space and things like that. So I think the times that I've been on power plays that I've had more success against it, it's more using that aggression against them where maybe you're trying to suck a guy a little bit further away from the net just so they have a little bit longer distance to go, and then you have to know that next play pretty much before you get the puck. I feel like is huge. So like you almost are trying to draw all 4 guys as far away from their net and then make that next play, and you might have to put it through a guy's feet or through a guy's triangle to make that play. But if you're able to make basically those 2 plays in a row, that gives you a much better chance to do that, which is obviously kind of easier said than done at times.
Mm-hmm. Would you say that's the most frustrating PK to play against in the league? You know, obviously you are a power play guy. You see a lot of different penalty kills. Would you put them at number 1?
Yeah, they definitely have their own unique style to them. So it's yeah, like when, especially going into their building too, like it feels like it's at another level when they're at home. But yeah, I mean, pretty much over the course of my whole career, I feel like it's been like that. Even like, I know obviously some of the personnel has changed a lot over those years and the people involved in it, but for whatever reason, they've always had a really good kill. It seems like, since I've been in the league. And it used to be, I remember earlier in my career, like the entries were always just like, it was pretty much impossible to get in with possession. You'd have to dump it every time, but I don't even know what they were doing differently then, but yeah, it's that's definitely kind of a calling card to their success. I feel like how aggressive they are and how frustrating it can be to play against.
You mentioned their building. Like I know this is kind of like a basic question to ask, but I feel like I don't think I've ever asked you this. Do you have like a memory when you were younger in the league of like actually being like rattled by a building and an opposing fan base or atmosphere? You seem like you're kind of like a one level. Yeah. I feel like you don't really lose your cool ever though.
Honestly, the one building that I absolutely hated and I was rattled going into it was the Barclays Center. That was just like the whole setup, like you're skating out from behind the net and you're going in there. I think I had a game playing there with the Leafs where like I might have been like -4 or something. So just a couple bad games in there, and just the setup, it was terrible. It was like,
fucking
it was like,
car.
I'm like, thank God I don't have to go back there ever again. But that was, yeah. And it's more for little stuff like that, where it's like the little tiny like inconveniences where you're like skating. I remember you're skating out right behind their net, so there's guys like shooting the puck, and you feel like you're right in the crossfire of getting hit in the face as you're trying to get on and get going for the warm up. But yeah, that's definitely at the top of my list of like that sticks out for like Jesus.
Yeah.
Like I hated that place, but
that's a good one.
Yeah.
I never saw a game there, but everyone complained about just like fans, not just players, but fans. Like
I called a game
there for
I
hockey. Really?
I called a Carolina Islander game in that building. Your brother was playing in Carolina.
Was like off-centered.
Well, I remember the game well because your brother got smacked from behind early in that game. He was going back on
the first shift.
Yeah, like he was going back on a puck, and he just got
who hit him?
Dialed from behind.
Clutterbuck.
I don't remember.
Oh,
there
really?
You go. Yeah. I mean, it was a dirty hit. I mean, it was definitely a dirty hit, but. They didn't even have a broadcast booth. We were just like in some random section in the middle of, the lower bowl at Barclays Center with like tables. And it was like Forsland and I don't know, maybe Edzo were like to our left. And then Sam Rosen and I were like next to them on this little table. I remember sitting in this chair. I felt like, those little chairs you get for your kids, Reamer, that have like their names on them. And they're like those little mini chairs for like the playroom. That's what I felt like I was calling the game on. It was, it was a goofy experience. So,
do you want to hear a funny story quick?
Yeah, sure.
I went to a Brooklyn Nets. Raptors game, and I was wearing a Jeremy Lin Harvard jersey. It was Asian Heritage Night at the Barclays Center, and I didn't know that. I just had like a Jeremy Lin Harvard jersey because I was a big Knicks fan, and I got called onto the court during a timeout to do like a layup, a free throw, a 3-pointer, and I was out there and I was getting booed by the whole fucking crowd because I airballed like 3 threes in a row. Like it's one of those things where it's like, oh, if that were me, I'd be able to do it. Like I would say that, and then you went out there, and I was like, holy shit, man! I have video. Our chat say we need the tape.
We got to get some of that video. Then I need to see that.
It was really bad, but it was like one of those like humbling experiences where I always said, oh man, if I got called, I'd be fucking, I hit the 3, and it's like, oh no, this is not good. But yeah, that's a funny Barclays story. Sorry, Colby, if you didn't find that funny or amusing. Thanks for humoring me. Thanks for humoring me, Reamer.
You're always the butt of the joke, so I'm never surprised by these things. All right, Reams, thanks for coming on today. I'll tell you, Mike Reilly, he kind of lit up when we were. I said to him, Reamer better get the invite out of the boat party. Yeah, his face definitely. He let his hair down a little bit when we told him you were coming on the show a little bit later. So
he's the best. His family's the best too. They're great. We go over to his parents' house for some sauna and cold tub stuff a lot in the summer. So yeah, they're good.
Nice. Any news or updates for you? I mean, any decisions that you've made yet? I know you've got time, but I'm curious if you've made any decisions that you want to share. Like, I'm always going to ask, and no is always an okay answer, but I can't have you on here. I think there's Red Wings fans that come here that would love to have you back. I think there's other fan bases that listen to our show every day that would love to see that long ass and last name of yours wearing their team's colors. And who knows, maybe Billy Guerin will call you this summer. I could see that being a nice fit. This Minnesota team needs a guy who is willing to take $1 million and a half and score 20 goals. They could probably use a guy like that. So
maybe he could shift over to center.
I'm just going to throw it out there, but I just got to ask you before we let you go.
Yeah. I've started getting back into the swing of things here, training, and going to get on the ice in probably a week or so from now. So that's probably, it's always a nice, not a nice sign, but it's like to have that still. It's one thing to get to the season, want to go through all that and play the games and that sort of thing, but the kind of the itch and desire to want to put the work into what it takes to get to that point, I think is a big thing that I've found talking to guys as they've gotten towards the end of their careers. Like once kind of you start to lose that a little bit, then that's when maybe you might know it's time. But I definitely still have that. So that's my plan, just to prepare like I'm getting ready for another season, and then we'll just kind of see where it goes from there.
And if not, you'll be the best player in the alumni games here come the fall. So you'll put Chat Dog on the other end of a bad highlight in one of the alumni games like you did in college, Johnny.
Are you doing a camp this summer? Because Brendan actually reached out to me about a camp.
Yes, we do our family's hockey camp usually for 1 week towards like the end of July, early August, every year at the Red Bank Armory. So yeah, we'll be doing that again this year, and Brendan does all the heavy lifting for that. I kind of me and Trevor show up with usually the couple days before and get the whole plan in place. But no, Brendan spearheads a lot of that. He works with a lot of the kids that are in the camp on a more full-time basis, whether he's coaching them on his teams in Red Bank there or doing private lessons with kids. So that's something we look forward to every summer, just kind of our way of being involved in the local hockey scene again, giving back paying it forward some of the knowledge that we've gotten over the years. And that's something that's been a lot of fun for us to do. I think this is probably maybe year 5 or 6 that we've done it. So it's been fun.
I'm going to try to make my way down there for it.
All right, great.
I'm doing Atlantic District stuff this weekend, Reamer. So I'm giving back this weekend. So
yeah, I'd love to see it. Put it on the board.
Exactly. I'm sure I'm the right guy for the job, right? All right, pal. I love you. I'll talk to you soon.
All righty. Take it easy, fellas. See ya.
Right.
Be good. Always awesome talk. We just like bounced around everywhere with Reamer today. That was fun. This has been a different show, but it's been a fun show.
Well, the game stunk last night.
Well, it's also we haven't done this in a while. It's nice.
Yeah, like the games were just last night. They really were. I mean, you put the Johnny Jinx on playoff hockey last night. Leaves texted me and he's like, "You think Johnny still thinks the playoffs have been great this year?" Like, I mean, you are the ultimate. I mean, even when you texted Gary Lawless last night and you were like, he's like, "You better not reverse Johnny Jinx us." I mean, that's a strong force.
Yeah.
All right, listen, before we go to Bet365, I just want to throw a couple more things at you, and then we're going to go here. We'll give Vic more than 3 minutes to get ready for LMT today. But don't forget to like today's episode, obviously. But, Johnny, do you have a Game 1 prediction? Clark Cup Finals tonight in Sioux Falls. Sioux Falls Stampede are playing the Muskegon Lumberjacks. Muskegon, highest scoring team in the playoffs. Tons of NHL draft picks. Game 1 on night on Amazon Prime. So if you have Amazon Prime, you can get the game for free and you can listen to Johnny. Do you have a prediction for this game or maybe even the series?
I think tonight, Game 1, I feel like in junior hockey playoffs is always low scoring. There's a lot of nerves, a lot of like both teams not wanting to make a mistake. It seems like a feeling out process in junior hockey, at least from the series that I've seen for the most part. So I think tonight will be low scoring. Fellbergs is in goal for Sioux Falls, and he's been unbelievable in these playoffs. So while Muskegon is so high scoring, I do think Sioux Falls kind of has the answer in net. To slow them down a little bit. And obviously the crowd tonight at the Denny Sanford Premier Center is going to be sick. So I think there's going to be a lot of good energy on the home side. I think the Stampede will come out and win this game, probably like around 3-1, 3-2, one of those lower scoring games to start this series. But I don't know. I think this one's going to go 5 just because in a best of 5 series, Colby, and like when you play 2 games at home, 2 games on the road, it's so hard to take both. Right,
yeah,
like
it's hard
in junior hockey.
Usually,
you're so split. Hard.
Usually,
so
you
hard.
see splits. Yeah, got it.
And last year in the Clark Cup final was the same thing. So I'm gonna predict this one going 5, which means I'll be on the road. Like I'm gonna be on the road like all week. I got a busy week this week. I'm going up to Boston for 2 days for Coach Carvel's 10-year anniversary. I'm hosting the banquet for that, which is pretty funny. You might need to text Carv and have a chuckle with him because I don't think either one of us could have predicted that would have happened. And then going to Muskegon again on Thursday. So you'll be there. I know you'll be there, which will be fun. Pat Maroon will be there, which will be fun. I think some of the Muskegon Lumberjack alumni, like Tynan Lawrence, might even be there next weekend, which would be cool. I've heard some rumblings of that. But, this should be a pretty fun series. And since there's no playoff hockey on tonight for the Stanley Cup playoffs, you might as well tune into the Clark Cup final to see some future NHLers.
Yeah, enjoy your night. I mean, listen, I would say this could be a night where you take Emily out and let her live a real life, but obviously you're sitting in a hotel in Sioux Falls, South Dakota right now.
No days off.
No days off for you, Johnny.
No
All
days
right, what do
off.
we got? Yes, Patty Maroon's son is playing. He plays for the Muskegon Lumberjacks. Had a big goal. Was it in game
5
4 or
Game
game
5
for Muskegon?
I think game 5.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Johnny, what do you got for Bet365? Let's call it a week here, pal.
So since there's no games tonight, our Bet365 parlay of the weekend, we're going to call it, since it's on Saturday, we're going with the Ole parlay, and that is the Montreal Canadiens on the money line and Cole Caulfield to score a goal at any point in the game. Obviously, it's a Saturday night at the Bell Center, which means it's pretty much automatic that Cole Caulfield scores a goal. And if he does, you got to think that Montreal is going to take it away and end this series. And then we'll have our Final Four set. I do have a part of me that believes Alex Lyon could steal one. But like you said, Colby, it's Montreal's series for the taking as of that game last night. So not a lot of hockey to talk about over the weekend, but it should be fun. Yeah.
I want to drop 2 quick things in that I just saw on Twitter. One, Michael Russo says that John Hynes is safe in his job, which I believe is the right decision. I am a big supporter for John Hynes. The second thing I am seeing on social media right now is the report that Michael Russo actually also talked about. Bill Guerin tried to trade for Luke Hughes in the 25-26 season. Yeah. According to a report by Michael Russo via The Athletic, the Wild general manager attempted to trade for Luke Hughes, the youngest of the 3 NHL phenoms, in a trade amid the 25-26 season. So, interesting. But yeah.
I did see Biz yesterday said, I didn't see the clip. I just saw like the quote card, said that he thinks there's a better chance that Jack goes to Minnesota versus Quinn going to Jersey.
Yeah, I think so too. I think, and remember, they're represented by CAA and Pat Brisson, who's definitely got more sway, than your everyday agent, and more ability to make things happen and shift things around than your everyday agent. So,
also the World started today, by the way. John Tavares scored the first goal of the World's.
I saw that.
Playing.
I think it's weird that I saw the picture yesterday of Celebrini wearing the captain, and then like O'Reilly, Tavares, and Crosby wearing the A's on their jersey. I think that's weird. Crosby's he is Team Canada captain. Like, I bet you Macklin even feels weird, to be honest. With that. So, all right. Great week, Johnny. Listen, have a great call tonight. We will definitely, with no NHL on, we'll definitely be watching game 1. We'll be listening. We'll be watching. I'll probably be live critiquing you. So keep your cell phone on, because I will be.
That's good. I'll keep my phone on while I'm doing the broadcast. So
I would like you to just not only keep it on, maybe put your iPad up so you can actually read the text while you're doing the game.
Why don't we just get our live chat going during the game? They can just comment on everything I say while I'm broadcasting the game.
Yeah. We're also
I'll
considering a post-game show next Thursday. Due to some travel issues coming next Friday, but we'll talk about that next week. So with that, we hope everybody enjoyed this long week of long shows. We went between an hour and a half and 2 hours every single day, and you guys were right there with us the whole time. So make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe to the Daily Faceoff YouTube page. I think we've officially broken into 40,100 plus because the channel says 40.1. So we are trending up. Get your audio downloads going, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, and go on those platforms. Even if you're not an audio person, do us a favor, take 2 minutes and give us a review, give us a rating. Write what you like about the show. If you want to write what you don't like about the show, write what you don't like about the show. So get on the audio and leave us some reviews and get those audio downloads going. We're nearing in on a massive milestone for this show on audio downloads. And I will tell you, once we hit that milestone, I will let all you guys know, because we obviously wouldn't be able to do that without you. But we are getting closer and closer to a huge milestone that triggers a big fat bonus for our best pal Vic if we hit that milestone. I'm just kidding, by the way. But we are closing in on the milestone. So anyways, we hope everybody has a great weekend. Enjoy a little bit of time away from the game this weekend, and we'll see everybody at 9 a.m. on Monday.
What's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to Morning Cup of Hockey here on the Daily Faceoff YouTube channel. If you enjoyed the show, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. And don't forget, we've got more great hockey content every day. You can catch DFO live at noon and stick around for the sheet with Jeff Marek at 1 p.m. right here on Daily Faceoff. Until then, keep your coffee hot and your takes hot.